Change is the only constant in our lives, or so it seems at times. After 11 years working in an office job in a carpentry shop, I was ready for a change. It was a great place to work, a great atmosphere with the boss and the coworkers, but after the time spent there, I was ready to do something else. I guess the question always is, when is the right time for a change like that? The security of a monthly paycheck and also a comfortable workplace made me think long and hard about this decision. At the end, a family health issue gave me the final push to quit my job. You see, I love woodworking, but even though I worked in the carpentry shop, I was mostly in the office doing management work and had little time to do woodworking. And that is also where this project comes into play. I really wanted to leave the shop and also my boss with something to remember me by. For years, I had this old pole saw in my shop. The idea was that one day I would restore it and hang it on the wall somewhere. And seeing as I was about to leave a carpentry shop, I figured this would be a great place to hang it with the name of the carpentry shop on it. So I cut myself a cookie from an old hardwood tree I had laying around. I took the saw apart, had it cleaned by a sandblaster, and straightened the cookie with a router. After all that work, I cleaned up the cracks and the holes in the cookie and also put some tape on the bottom and filled it with epoxy resin, which then needed to be cleaned up and also sanded. The process of cleaning and straightening this cookie left a huge mess in my shop. Once I finished the one side, I had to flip it around and do the other side as well. Once I cleaned up the front and the back, I wanted to put an inlay where the saw would fit into the log. If I hang it on the wall, it should look like the saw cut halfway through the log. After that came the final finishing touches. There were some bubbles that formed in the epoxy, which I cleaned up and filled with UV curing, fast curing epoxy. Then I also had to address the spills on the side where the epoxy leaked through some holes onto the side. If you warm up epoxy with a torch, you can clean it off easily with a wire brush, in this case with the electric hand grinder. Then sanding the cookie to its final grit and also cleaning the saw once more with the wire brush. The saw came with a couple of old handles, one that was cut already, so I made a couple of new handles, or had them made. A friend that has a lathe, he turned these handles for me. I sprayed all the hardware with a lacquer and also the saw to maintain its shininess, and then onto the cookie, which I sprayed a couple of hands of lacquer as well. This will never get old, watching a project come to its end and watching the beautiful grain pop with the lacquer. Then it was on to the hardware, which had to be fit onto the handles. On one side, it was attached with a screw, and on the other side, the handle had to be shaped and fitted so that it fits snugly into the hole. I also had to drill the saw to attach it to the cookie, and I also wanted to put a hole into it in order to hang it onto the wall. So 4 holes for the screws and one slightly larger hole in order to fit the screw that would hang the piece onto the wall. Then it was just a matter of drilling the holes and attaching the saw with some screws onto the cookie. After that was done, I sanded it one more time and gave it another couple of coats of lacquer. I also brought the cookie to a shop where they print the name and the logo of the company I worked at onto the front, and then it was just assembling the part and taking some final shots. So when is the right time to quit your job, to do what you love, to try something new? I don't know, I can't tell you, but we all have to try it at some point and just see where it takes us. So this will be my ride.